You see this, people? You see this? This is the mail. Let's see what's inside. Well, I know what's inside, but you may not. This is from WQBE. I don't know. And what's inside this? CozUMel. And to show you that the legit thing, here we go, the receipt. Yep, it showed $25. Nice. Convenience fee for 3%, 75 cents. And this is also for toast, right? Or I could actually go. Let me see here. Let me look at the rules real quick here. CozUMel CANTINA on the grill. You may use this card by presenting it for payment when making a purchase. It is not a debit card or a credit card and has no implied warranty. Purchase is not refundable for lost, stolen, or damaged cards or any unauthorized card use. Card cannot be used towards gratuities. Interesting. And it does say $25 on this receipt, which is cool. That's good, at least they give you the receipt now. Originally, I don't think they did, Let me. Yep, I got my mail finally. Took a few days. Fucking snail mail. Yeah. $25. You think that get you not much, but it will, I think. But this is only for CozUMel Cantina and Grill on the river in Jefferson or St. Albans, West Virginia. Yeah. Powered by Toast, which I do have the app for that too. Let me put this in my wallet. Let me put it right in front of my ID. And let me put the receipt. Hold on a minute. Okay. Put that in there. Yeah.
Similar. They were planning their first theme park outside of Hollywood, and just like their competitor, later named Disney MGM Studios, Universal Studios Florida would feature both an active production studio as well as a theme park. All of this was being touted as the new Hollywood of the South, a cheaper alternative to shooting film and television in California, and a way for these companies to
being Georgia, I think, somewhere.
to view those very productions live. It was an interesting idea, and there was a lot of hype around it, as well as a fierce rivalry between Disney and Universal. But then there was Nickelodeon, a popular and by now well-funded children's network that had been producing original programming like Rated K for Kids, Mr. Wizard's World, Pinwheel, and the extremely popular Doubleday. But the thing was, Nickelodeon had all of these shows being filmed in different locations across North America. They had no large central production facility, and that left them fragmented without the ability to scale new production. By the late 1980s, Universal Studios Florida was more or less finalized in its overall design, even with some initial construction already underway. In fact, their sound stages in Florida were already near completion. Ultimately, Universal pitched Nickelodeon on the idea of joining forces and setting up a production facility, but crucially give Universal a serious draw for younger children, as well as a year-round interactive attraction within the production central area of the park. The deal was inked in 1988, with Nickelodeon signing on for a multi-year contract, allowing them use of a large administration building as well as 2 dedicated sound stages. They would become Stage 18 and Stage 19, with the middle building being called B17. It was clearly a last-minute addition to the park, which is why it's not depicted on most concept art as well as the public model. It was now going to be placed along a new street just south of the park, getting off the main thoroughfare. On June 7, 1990, Universal Studios Florida had officially opened to the public, and with it, so did Nickelodeon Studios. The studio facade was plastered in a very 90s color scheme, but overall playful and colorful, very indicative of the Nickelodeon aesthetic. The courtyard was also adorned with Nickelodeon-themed benches and the slide guard, which was theatrically unveiled later that year. There were also some photo ops and later execution. However, when the park first opened, you didn't necessarily feel all too disconnected from where you just arrived, as just beyond those photo ops was a really large empty field, and then the parking lot, which the tree did really do a good job at height. No matter, as the real attraction was what you got inside. After you queued up under a large green canopy, you'd be brought through the studio.
Okay, I cleaned out that area over there.
Which was later painted with character mirrors. You'd be brought down large, elevated, glass-enclosed walkways over top the stages.
Or someone cleaned it out.
Having a guide explain to you what to look at. Since Nickelodeon's contract with Universal stated that they needed to be in production pretty much every day of the year, there would always be something for guests to document. The tour would also bring you by control rooms, costuming, a kitchen, and rather intrusively, the dressing room. Plus, kids would have the chance to participate in game shows and activities, as well as audition to be on the actual televised shows that were being taped that day. For those who weren't selected, well, they would at least have the option to be in a live studio audience. Through the early 1990s, the tour would constantly evolve, and so would the roster of shows being filmed at the studio. Nick Jr. filmed Eureka's Castle and Gullah Island. Sketch comedy shows included Roundhouse and All That, but the most sizable roster of titles came in the form of game shows, like Figure It Out, The New and several their variations, Nick Arcade, Nickelodeon Guts, Mobile Guts, What Would You Do, and Legends of the Hidden Temple. Other hit shows included Launchbox and Keenan and Kel. See, I said it properly this time. Yeah, well, you know, it almost took me a decade to properly pronounce it in the video, but it's fine. If you weren't one of the 7,000 people who screamed at how I pronounced it in my original video, then I can't help it. Anyways, those were just some of the more notable shows that were being filmed. And of course, there were plenty more. Really, almost every original show Nickelodeon produced through the early to mid-1990s was filmed in the Florida studio. If you want a more detailed timeline of where and when these actual shows were in production, I highly suggest watching Papa Raina's video on Nick Studios. I'll leave a link in the description below. Clearly, though, the early years of the studio were an exciting time. The opening telecast, for example, was a big event in of itself. and throughout America, commercials would air on TV, compelling children to come visit and go behind the scenes at Nickelodeon. The studio would also be heavily marketed in other forms, mainly in the programs themselves, often showing off the studio, interacting with guests, holding special events, and announcing its filming location at the end of each show. One particularly notable one was the 1992 Time Capsule Fair. A special broadcast was filmed just for the ceremony.
Hello there,
A
Wesley.
collection of pop culture items that were relevant at the time, not to be opened until 2042.
Guess what I found out?
And himself made predictions, stating that kids of the future will always be able to visit this location and the world's first headquarters for kids, which would really turn out to be wishful thinking. Regardless, Nickelodeon at the time was extremely popular, and the studio were a big draw for Universal guests as a whole. Especially
Nickelodeon.
Universal was a bit of a letdown on opening day. It didn't have a vast number of attractions.
Nickelodeon was awesome in the 90s. Yeah, they were also awesome in the 2000s as well. It wasn't just the 90s that when they were awesome. They were awesome in the 2000s. Now the 2010s, the early 2010s or teens, they were awesome as well, but it was starting to fade away. Now it's like Nickelodeon doesn't know what to fucking do anymore. Except for the Kids' Choice Award and SpongeBob. And sometimes Slime Time in NFL or whatever it's called.
Well, many strongly objected to actually moving to Florida.
That's the only thing they're known for now these days on Nickelodeon. SpongeBob Kids' Choice Awards, which I think is not as good as it once was with the Kids' Choice Awards. And I'm trying to think what else.
Long term, it was beginning to become a challenge to have theme park guests constantly flowing through active and inactive, made to look active because they were.
Let me tell you what I got, Wesley. Yeah. I got that in the mail today. And I do got the receipt right here that I guess they paid for at WQBE. Here, I'll show you. Yeah.
Disney was starting to plan.
Come on, focus. Okay, there we go.
Completely divorced from any backstage scene. Universal was also expanding in a big way, turning this single theme park into a whole resort.
You know why Nickelodeon was good in the 2000s is because of SpongeBob, and I think others, and Jimmy Neutron, and other shows like Drake and Josh, maybe iCarly. You finally got to get card. That's awesome. Sorry, something was in the way, like slow connection. Yeah, that is awesome. Been waiting for days. At least it wasn't weeks. At least they didn't give it to me online, you know, this time. I was getting worried.
Because there was nothing interesting being filmed on site, guests weren't all that interested in the backlot tour. Nickelodeon Studios was becoming the only way to see a real production. But even there, original programming was beginning to dry up. More producers and directors advocated.
I wish I would have went to that, but of course I don't think they'll ever do something like that again. If they do something like that again with Nickelodeon, it can't be in Florida. In the wait, what now? Oh yeah, and the Fairly Odd Parents. Yeah, those were good too. That one was good. Yeah, SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, the Fairly Odd Parents, iCarly in the early days. Even though it was directed by Dan Schneider, of course. And what was the other one? Drake and Josh, I think. And maybe Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. My other favorite show, even though I think this was more like the 2010s when this came out, was iCarly, Victorious, and Big Time Rush, if I remember right. And SpongeBob still being there, you know. It's kind of weird that SpongeBob has outlasted some of those shows, all of those shows, I think. Most of them. I mean, the Return, wait, what now? You know, Universal Studios was used
along Sunset
Oh, wait a
Boulevard.
minute. In the WCW Nitro opening, huh, that's interesting.
Some of their production.
And I thought they were owned by, at one time, owned by somebody else than Universal, but I guess it
Some of
makes
those
sense
live-action
too.
productions were moving to California. Animation was
I guess,
becoming a larger part of the network's overall.
Yeah,
And
animation.
over on the West Coast. The Florida studio didn't even have a facility capable of producing animated television. By the late 90s,
Yeah, they say that foot logo for Nickelodeon was inspired by, well, you know,
but they couldn't really do anything.
Probably Dan Schneider had something to say about that, but that's kind of weird that it showed the foot logo. But then again, I guess it was for his foot fetish, I don't know. I don't know. By the way, who in the right goddamn mind has a foot fetish? Yeah, I've heard of other fetishes like, let me think here, a booby fetish or some other type of fetishes, you know. I mean, I've heard of the foot fetish, but I think that's, I don't know how I feel about a foot fetish, you know. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Now, this wasn't to say Nickelodeon didn't have a place in people.
I'm not telling you what type of guy I am. I'm just Bailey, you see. Let's just put it that way. The slime was oatmeal with green food coloring. Well, now they're going to have to choose something else because that green food coloring may be banned in the future. Well, actually, it's probably already banned. They can still use the oatmeal, though, and with some other natural green coloring.
And that was coming up soon. Through the early 2000s, there were really no updates made to the series, apart from a 2004 paint change following some damage after Hurricane.
You know what I wish about Nickelodeon? I wish they would do something similar to this, but in New York City, in Times Square. You see, that's where I think Nickelodeon, or Viacom is actually headquartered, but the studios are in Hollywood now, of course.
Over the next year.
I mean, here's the problem I think is with Nickelodeon. After they found out more about Dan Schneider, not just in this time frame like last year, but when they were finding out what Dan Schneider was doing, I think that's when Nickelodeon is going to start going bad. I know what Nickelodeon said in that documentary. We don't do that anymore. Well, you should have knew better than to hire these type of people. Especially since, how many people got in trouble? 3 people got in trouble that worked for Nickelodeon. If I remember right, from that, what was it? I forgot what it's called. Quiet on set, you know, that they were talking about, they were saying 3 or 4 or 5 people, I think, got in trouble for doing bad stuff to children, which I'm not going to say on here what stuff, but I think he
would slowly lose their branding.
One of them, of course, which, you know, we know Drake Bell, I mean, he would get acquitted, I think.
The sound stages lost their
But
still,
at least that's good. At least but his reputation almost got ruined overnight too with Drake Bell. No wonder he's still not in trouble. I don't know how else he didn't commit suicide. It's a shock. I like Drake Bell, but imagine. Nickelodeon Eating Federation. It was a concept, but it never picked up. Huh. That's weird. I didn't know that they had an eating federation that, well, but then I guess it got never picked up though. Like, I gotta check that now. But I don't think Nickelodeon wants my program. I tell you, it best better be off of Fox or Fox Sports or Comedy Central. I think that'd be a better place for that if if my program was on some my eating contest program. And that's weird that I didn't know Nickelodeon, or that just, I didn't know there was a concept like that. Can you imagine if that was right before Man vs. Food came along? Okay, let's put it this way. Nickelodeon doing some, which I know they did sound like wrestling, but they only had 2 episodes of it. Of course, it wasn't good wrestling. It was more like, I can't find a video now of that, you know. But I can only imagine what could have been, like you said, Wesley. If that ever did happen, I'm pretty sure it would have beat Man vs. Food in ratings right there. If done right, that is.
Then just beside Hard Rock Cafe, the show
maybe beat Man vs. Food with Adam Richmond, of course. You know.
The time capsule from 1982 had also been dug up and relocated to the Nickelodeon.
Would that beat the whole purpose of a time capsule right there? If you say, when was the date again on that? 1990 something, 92 to 2042, I think. Well, they dug it up in 2005. I could see you on the Nickelodeon eating fair. Well, but I think they want. Well, if it was on a long time ago, and if I wanted to do it, I would have. But now these days, it's like I don't want to work for Nickelodeon, or let my. And even if I had kids, Wesley, I wouldn't want them working for Nickelodeon because I don't know what's going to happen. You never know with this world, but then again, sometimes you need to take risk, you know. Even if the risk involves people like that, but of course they'll get in trouble, of course, but you know. Like when the time capsule was moved from Universal Studios. Well, actually, first it was moved from Universal Studios to the Nick Hotel, then the Nick Hotel to the actual Nickelodeon studios in Hollywood eventually, which I mean, that still defeats the whole purpose of a time capsule. Like, let's just say this. If you set a date for a time capsule and you say 40 or 50 years into the future, you gotta dig it up within 50 years from now. Now, here's the problem with this time capsule, okay? The problem with this time capsule was they put it at Universal Studios not knowing what was going to happen, okay? Then, in 2005 or something like that, you know, of course, they dig it up like years and years and years before their set date, which defeats the whole purpose of a damn time capsule, I think. Wait, when 90s Nickelodeon shows are on Paramount Plus, yeah, I think I knew that. There's a channel on Pluto that shows classic Nickelodeon shows, I know. They also show Carly, they also show Figure It Out, or they did. They also show, there's 2 of them on there. Actually, but yeah, that time, I don't want to watch more of that because sometimes when I watch Abandoned Attraction that depressed me a long time ago. I don't know about today, but you know, normally when you look at, what was this? Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I'm trying to think. Do you have any other questions on Legend of the Hidden Temple? Yeah, I like that show, but I like Figure It Out more. Now, let's see here. John Cena heel time sucks. No, I don't think it sucks. Well, actually, I don't know. Let's listen to what he has to say. Even though he's most known for food reviews, but this should be interesting.
Zion, how are you guys doing?
Zion.
I'm going to be talking about something
pro wrestling related. So
Good.
90% of you have already turned off the video if you bothered to try to watch. I'm going to talk about how I really just don't like the John Cena heel turn. I just have to say. I started enthusiastic.
Well, why don't you like it? Is it because he turned heel and he says y'all, and he told y'all he'd break up with you? Is that why?
About it, when I thought like the actual turn itself, even though I was like opposed to him turning heel, I thought they did such a good job. Turning heel, by the way, for people that don't watch wrestling, is you go in from good guy to bad guy. I have to remember the terminology, not everybody knows. But yeah, at Elimination Chamber, it was done so well that
Yeah, it was done so well. It's still being done so well, if I remember right.
And then that Raw after Elimination Chamber was so good. The promo between the back and forth between Cody and Cena was so good that I was on board. But I have to tell you, as I said in my WrestleMania video, I just don't buy John Cena as a heel. I mean, that's just all that comes down to it, is I feel like he's playing a character. He's John Cena playing a character.
Well, all wrestlers play... never mind what I was about to say. But all wrestlers play a character unless if you live that character like Shane fucking Storm.
He was John Cena. You know, like he was just being himself. And I am in the camp of, I think pro wrestling is at its best when it blurs the lines of reality. And there's no reality where I buy that this man is a bad guy. I just don't. And I gotta tell you, even though I saw Stone Cold Steve Austin run, I can't remember what the guy's name is, but one of the big UFC commentator guys, the pro wrestling too.
Joe Rogan?
Something? Either way.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I can't remember what the guy's name is.
Joe Rogan's a
Big,
dick.
UFC, commentator guys, the UFC pro wrestling too. And, something? Either way. Austin's on there, and Austin was saying that he thought Cena was doing like the best work of his career, and he really liked the heel turn. I could not disagree more. Every time that Cena cuts a promo, he does this thing with his voice that I hate. So like, here's a normal John Cena promo, you know? I'm going to go to the Elimination Chamber, and I'm going to win the WWE title. Like, okay, it's John Cena, right? This is what he does as a heel. I am going to go to the Elimination Chamber, and I'm going to win the WWE title. He does like this weird, like evil, extra deep voice thing.
Yeah.
And I just hate it. I hate it so much. And I have to stress to you guys,
Yes, I can see your point, but still, I think John Cena did very damn good as a heel.
And I think he is...
And that says so because we're supposed to boo the heels.
I think he's on the Mount Rushmore, greatest of all time. I mean, he arguably carried the company on his back longer than anyone else. Longer than Hogan, longer than The Rock, Austin, anyone.
Well, wait a minute. What about The Miz? The Miz has carried that company. I know he hasn't been champion that much, but The Miz is talented too, and The Miz is awesome. He's more awesome than me.
Hey guys, like Cena had the best run.
That's saying something.
He moves, like he definitely gave us everything he had. I just don't like this. I don't like that his legacy after 16 world championships, winning or 15, 16, I can't remember whatever.
16.
That last championship. I just don't like the idea that it's going to be because Travis Scott helped him. And because he couldn't do it on his own. It just rubs me the wrong way. The whole thing does. But I do want to ask
Travis
you,
Scott, huh?
So, is this...
Yeah, Travis Scott stole from Mick Foley. I think he goes by Cactus Jack too.
In the case of...
Unless Mick Foley... Before Mick Foley, it was Cactus Jack as someone else done.
I'm getting older, and I've watched wrestling for a really long time, and I am unable to turn my brain off and just enjoy it, because Triple H came out and basically said that. He got criticism because, WrestleMania was a mixed bag this year. The WrestleMania 41. I don't think it was the worst I've ever seen. I've seen way worse WrestleManias. But that Night 1 show was not great, other than the main event. And Jacob Fatu and LA Knight. But, the Night 2 was better, but then the main event was terrible. So, he got fair criticism for that.
But he pushed back and did the whole, well, you just need to like, just enjoy it. Just turn off your brain and enjoy it. It's not meant to be serious business. But I think that's a cop-out. Because we've had so many times and so many examples of amazing storylines in pro wrestling that actually made sense. And you didn't have to turn your brain off and you could enjoy it and you could believe it. So like maybe that's the case. You know, I'm curious if you guys prefer to just like turn your brains off whenever you watch pro wrestling. Is that more entertaining to you? But like I just don't think I can do it. And I just don't like the John Cena heel turn. I think he's not able to pull it off. I think there's a good reason why Vince shot this down when they tried to do it back in the day versus The Rock. I just don't think John has it in him. I think John is a natural babyface, and I find it incredibly hard to believe that.
Yeah, but what if he beats Randy Orton at Backlash like to a pulp? Because, well, okay, we all know Randy Orton probably gonna win, but I don't know. You never know what they got playing up their sleeve. Yeah, you don't know. But with John Cena, it could go either way on that. I want Randy Orton to win, though. I don't know what will happen if Randy Orton wins against John Cena. Probably go back and forth on anyone.
Because Orton brought this up in his promo because they're going to be doing it.
But it should go back and forth sometime, not throughout the match, you know. But it should go like one person hit the other person, then the other person hit the other person, and then they both hit themselves. Which that'd be more entertaining, but just watching them hit each other or hit each other or hit themselves in the head, you know, or something like that.
I'm going to throw it out there.
Hitting them in the head and hitting them in the chest, slapping them, doing their finisher, doing their signature, doing everything they can.
Classic. But I'm in the minority on that. I think most people really like their feud. But Orton used his promo. I'm building up the Backlash on SmackDown into it. It basically said, you know, I can't believe the guy who has the record for Make-A-Wish, which is true. John Cena has granted more Make-A-Wish, which joke with Make-A-Wish is it's for terminally ill children. He has the record for going out, you know, and seeing them. I mean, like, it's kind of amazing. Like, there's examples of him, like, driving hours to go see a kid because he happens to be in the area and he wants to go visit him before the kid passes away, which is awesome. Awesome stuff. That's what I would do, too, if I was a celebrity. I would 100% use it for that, those means. But like, Orton's like, I can't believe a guy who has that record would, you know, be a bad guy like this, would act like this and act selfish like that. And I get that that was the point of the promo, but he's literally right. I can't believe that. I can't believe that John Cena, I can't believe he would be a bad guy. At this point, it's just way too late in his career. And even though I was open to it before, yeah, not so much anymore. But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you guys think I'm completely...
Well, I think the problem is with John Cena being heel, people didn't think he was going to turn heel ever. Is where the problem is. That's my theory. They never thought he would turn heel. Like, John Cena wouldn't turn on the fans, and then when he turned on the fans, people were like, "Oh my God, did he just do what I think he just did?" You know.
We just love it, this. I think I'm in the minority on this one.
Yeah, I think you are too, but I'm also kind of agreeing with some of what you were saying. Like, it's just like I don't like it. Even though I like John Cena, I just don't think him as a heel doesn't make sense.
A lot of hotels.
I don't know. Trying to think of one more video, but it had to be short. I don't know how long. I gotta make this shorter. Let's see. Let's try to. Oh, here's a good one. No, that's from 11 months ago. Never mind. No. 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 Okay, there we go. He done it to episode 500. That's interesting. Pussy. Cat. Pussy. I bet that cat doesn't like to be called a pussy.
Yeah, everybody. My name is Joe, and you're at the Joe is Angry channel, where today we're headed back to Arby's to check out the second of 2 barbecue sandwiches, bring it back to the studio, and put it under a microscope right here within the city limits of Fairmount, Georgia. Before I get started, I'd like to send a few shout-outs. The Real Toaster Boy, thank you for supporting the channel, and you know who you are. Jace, happy birthday from me to you. Dexter, a very happy birthday to you.
I'm trying to count how many quarters I have. 1, 2,
every one of you. Arby's has 2 new
3, 4,
barbecue
okay,
sandwiches.
5,
Quarter-pound pulled pork sandwich, which we
$1.50,
quarter-pound brisket barbecue sandwich, which we
$2.
are reviewing today. The beef brisket
That would
version
depend on
according to Arby's,
2.
13-hour slow-smoked brisket meat, sweet garlic pickles, your choice of barbecue sauce. The first is Cedric's sweet barbecue sauce, which is what we're using today. The second is Anthony's spicy chipotle smoky sauce, all honey toasted sesame seed bun. A single sandwich alone will load you down with
$2.
I have the full nutritional information on the screen and in the description below. If you decide to get one of these a la carte all by itself, you'll have to part with a hefty $7.99. We're making a medium combo for $12.39 before taxes in Georgia. Arby's again provides serving weights in their nutritional information. Each one of these is supposed to weigh in at a paltry 196 grams or 6.91 ounces, giving us a preliminary princely sum of $1.16 an ounce.
Actually, $3.
Advertised serving weights. All I have to say for that kind of money, this thing really needs to taste good. Now let's see it taking a cheese-safe temperature and roll the drive-thru at Arby's in Cartersville, Georgia. Let's see if we can go 2 for 2 today. Welcome to Arby's. You know when you're ready. I have the online order for the smoked brisket named Joe. Yeah, it literally just came up. Come on. Okay, thanks, sir. Address the sandwiches? Yep, got it. Thank you, sir. No problem. I've got my brisket sandwiches. Let's get out of this penalty box and do the Joe is Hungry temperature test. Brisket number 1 is 104.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Brisket number 2 is 125.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Brisket number 3 is 102.2 degrees Fahrenheit. If you've been watching my channel, you know I like my temperatures at 140 degrees or above. Wow. Arby's. For shame. This is a far cry from that. So today, Arby's, Cartersville, you the Joe is Hungry temperature test. Now it's time to open the bread up. Take a good look inside. Fire up this Joe is Hungry scale. Head back to the studio, then do the Joe is Hungry weight check. Well, Arby's, you didn't do so well on that temperature test. Frankly, I don't see how you could have done much worse. I'm embarrassed for you. What do you think the bacteria are going to say when they want to set up shop? Oh, don't bother the barbecue. It's exempt. Let's move over to the burger section so we don't kill any humans. I don't think so. Anyway, as you probably know, the barbecue sauce comes in its own container so you can put it on a sandwich. So I'm going to take off for this packaging. In other words, I'm going to set the chair on the scale.